It is early in the morning. I find my 3-year-old daughter at the corner crying uncontrollably. I don't walk over to her. I run to her, pick her up. What's the matter, Rain? Why are you crying? She cries even louder. Did someone hurt you? Suddenly, she stops. Daddy, I'm not crying. What? I am practicing. Practicing what? How to cry? In Africa, many have also been practicing how to cry since independence. The primary result is poverty. Struggling U.S. communities have been practicing it too. The result is the same: poverty. We have forgotten my daughter's main lesson: practice. We have forgotten that only prolonged and dedicated work drives results. Our heart, like every organ in our body, is one of our finest teachers. It is always working. Prolonged and dedicated work. Prolonged throughout our lifetime. When it fails to work, we fail to exist. That's one reason we too must give prolonged and dedicated work. Because when we don't work, we immediately begin to fail. Success favors only the one working. Our shared history shows how people from other continents arrive with nothing but the will to work hard. It doesn't matter that we sit on massive wealth. Africa, for example, is surrounded by wealth. It literally sits on wealth. Africa is known for its diamond and massive mineral reserves, including oil. But it's still the poorest continent. Why? It is not the wealth we sit on that matters. It is the prolonged and dedicated work we do. Success favors only the one working. To succeed, work. Struggling U.S. communities are no different. People from some Asian communities, for example, they come and set up shops and restaurants in the struggling U.S. communities that frequently decry poverty. Some come with nothing, yet become very wealthy from prolonged, dedicated work. Are these communities that decry poverty really poor? The law favors not those in areas surrounded by massive wealth. The law favors only those classified as hardworking. So these hardworking people enjoyed exciting rewards of hard work, while others remain poor or in a constant state of struggle. Every so often I tell my audience this, something my mother told me. Maybe you've heard it before. It has to do with a pair of twins, 4 years old, placed such that one is in a room with the finest, most exciting, most modern toys for the 4-year-old. His twin brother is placed in a different room. A room filled with a huge mountain of animal poop. After a while, they said, let's check on those kids, see what's going on. They go first to the toy kid, expecting to find him having a marvelous time, excited, going crazy, playing with these wonderful toys. They get there, they find him at the corner, arms folded across his chest, doing nothing, not even playing with one of the toys. Why are you not playing with your toys? Response, oh no, they might fall and hurt me. I wouldn't play with those toys. Besides, if they break, you go and bother my parents to pay for them. I'm not going to play with your toys. Fair enough. They go to the next room, the room with poop, with the other twin. They get there. They can't find him. Where is he? They ask, looking around anxiously for him. Then he climbs out of that mountain of poop, covered in poop, stinking, smelling so bad. What are you doing? Response, are you kidding me? With a mountain of poop this big, there's got to be a pony here somewhere, and I'm going to find it. Question, who do you admire more? The toy kid or the poop kid? Response, and everybody said the poop kid. Not the kid surrounded with all kinds of opportunities, but the kid working. The first law of all success is work. Hard work. Prayers can prepare us for work, but will not do our work for us like many think. We must do the work. Africa, my father told me, has more churches, more pastors, and prays more than any other continent, but is still the poorest continent. That's because we must work and pray, not pray and expect miracles. That formula taught by many religious leaders back in Africa and some struggling U.S. communities is a recipe for disaster. Work or you perish. Nothing happens without work. Nothing. There is an order to success, and it begins with work. Work comes before thinking, before emotions, before food. Work comes before men, before women. The first law of all success is work. Let's take another look at the heart. The symbol for falling in love is the symbol of the heart. The heart literally falls in love with its work. We too must fall in love with work. Any work we are doing, it's not the type of work we are doing that matters, it is the working. Yes, we've been told that we must know our purpose. We must find our purpose. True. But that's not as important as understanding the role of work. We don't need to know our purpose before we work. Many people don't know their purpose. Whatever it is we are doing, we must work it. For unless we fall in love with work, become passionate about work, and make work part of who we are as a people and a community, like the heart is part of us, we will remain unsuccessful. Yes, we can find blame in others, in tough circumstances and bad luck, but only work will truly free us. However, it will be terrible falsehood to sweep Africa under some blanket of underachievement. If we do, we will be forgetting that Africa has produced 23 Nobel Prize laureates, including President Nelson Mandela, in jail, not for 5, 10, or 15 years, in jail for 27 years, and yet leaped from that lowly place to become president. We see the success, the glory. We don't see the prolonged and dedicated work that made that success possible. Bishop Desmond Tutu fought fiercely against apartheid to eliminate apartheid. Again, we see the success, the Nobel Prize. We don't see the millions of people and thousands of countries that worked, prolonged and dedicated work to make that success possible. Professor Wole Soyinka, Nobel Prize laureate for English literature, a language vastly different from his native tongue. I am African, I know how complex our languages are. To leap from that complexity and study some other language is very difficult. But to win the Nobel Prize for literature in that other language, the English language, he's taking it to a whole new milestone. People say he's a genius, very brilliant man, but we don't see the prolonged and dedicated work that made the genius possible, that made the brilliance possible, that made the Nobel Prize possible. And these are just 3 out of 23 Nobel Prize laureates Africa has produced. Africa has also produced President Thomas Sankara. I don't know his politics, but I know this, that at the tender age of 33, when he became president of his country, he taught his people the miracle we attract when we engage in prolonged and dedicated work. President Kwame Nkrumah fought fiercely, not just for Ghana, but all of Africa. And if you've ever listened to the music of Fela Kuti, you know that even if you listen to it for the 1000th time, you still think he created that music last night. It is that fresh and refreshing, that relevant and melts you. Yet he produced that music some 50 years ago. Those who know Fela Kuti talk of how this man worked, forever tweaking and testing and practicing and rehearsing and tweaking some more. Music almost immortal like his music is, can only come from prolonged and dedicated hard work. Now, all of these people have produced results that are almost impossible from prolonged, dedicated work. Against the backdrop of Africa being the underachiever are several everyday Africans that do things differently, that work and achieve enviable results. My parents, like many other parents back in Africa, repeatedly drummed into my siblings and me the miracle of work. That when we learn to fall in love with work, to romanticize work, to live and breathe work, we attract all manner of great things to us, including benefits we did not even think of. My father was a wonderful boxing fan and taught us that sometimes the boxing champ is beaten almost to a pulp. Everyone gives up. Everyone except that champion. Somehow he finds a way to look deep within himself into that boundless energy we all possess, taps into it, and pulls out victory from the pangs of defeat. I didn't really understand him. Years later, I listened to great champion Sugar Ray Leonard say about the same thing as being responsible for some of his iconic victories. Then I began to understand what my father kept teaching us. That sometimes all the work we do will still not be enough, will still be insufficient. And it would seem as if we have no choice but to accept defeat. But even under those tough times that all of us would go through, even under those tough times like the boxing champ, we must learn to forget self and become one with this moment. Because when we do, space opens up. That is the platform from which to work. And that is part of the work we must learn to do. For it's forever how much work we are ready to do, we are willing to do, that would attract the success we desire. Success is forever tied to work. Anything different is falsehood. Talking about falsehood, when I first came to the USA from Africa 28 years ago, my favorite clothing store was Kmart. Kmart in Langley Park, Maryland. I go there this evening, buy myself a pair of black dress pants. I have them on the next morning for work. I don't have this big stomach you see here today, so my clothes are fitting. I know. Because when I get to work, this girl had been dying to gather courage to talk to. Comes over to me. Daniel, those are some lovely fitting pants you have on. My response, this old thing, I bought them some 3 years ago from Neiman Marcus. The girl rolls her eyes in her head and I see her pain, her disappointment. I see her frustration as she says, "You damn liar. You just bought those cheap things recently and from Kmart." The Kmart tags are still on them. I look, and lo, she's right. The tags are really still on them. As I peel those tags off, I see my opportunity walking away. I was engaged in falsehood. Every time we are engaged in falsehood, we cause great opportunity to walk away. Not understanding that work is the first law of all success is engaging in falsehood. That maybe is one of the reasons our results keep eluding us. Our leaders make the same mistake sometimes. And instead of talking about work, they talk about jobs. Yet success and growth respond to work, not just jobs. The difference? When we learn to forget self and become one with this moment, suddenly space opens up. Boundless space. Whatever we do in this space, including the job or any activity we are engaged in, is carried out, is done with the purest power and nourishes us. It's therapeutic to us and we thrive. That's how to work. When we teach this truth to our struggling communities in the US and Africa, we teach freedom. That's some gift we should all be proud, can all be proud to share far and wide. The truth called work. Thank you.